In a world filled with desire and danger, my relationship with my mate, Apollo, becomes increasingly complicated. Just as I bask in his warm embrace, fate delivers a deadly blow. I wake from a drug-induced slumber to find but a thick body of an innocent little girl hanging above my bed. My heart races as fear and anger intertwine, and Apollo's rage erupts as he vows to find the perpetrator. But can our love withstand such a brutal reality? How do I find hope for survival in this nightmare? Chapter 15T. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience and enthusiasm. I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. Apollo's smirk widened, his confidence radiating through the room. Yes, taste. Your whole body is calling for me. Little one. His voice low and seductive. I swallowed hard, feeling a lump form in my throat as Apollo approached. My shy nature took over, and I instinctively retreated up the bed, putting distance between us. His eyes narrowed for a moment before transforming into something primal. Suddenly, I felt like prey, and Apollo the predator. His gaze was intense, filled with a hunger that both thrilled and terrified me. Before I could react, Apollo's strong hands grasped my ankles, pulling me down the bed with a swift motion. A surprised squeal escaped my lips, my heart racing. There's nowhere you can hide from me. His breath hot against my ear. I've smelled your desire, and now I am desperate to taste it. My mind reeled. This man would surely be the death of me. I could almost picture my tombstone, death by desire, caused by Apollo. My thoughts scattered as Apollo's lips found my skin, leaving a trail of feather, like kisses from my jaw to my neck. Each touch sent shivers down my spine, igniting a fire within me I didn't know existed. As his kisses continued, my eyes fluttered closed. I found myself yearning for his lips on mine. But Apollo, ever the tease, kissed everywhere but there. He either didn't realize the effect he was having on me or was thoroughly enjoying my growing frustration. Suddenly, a surge of boldness overcame my usual hesitation. If he wasn't going to make a first move, why couldn't I? Groaning in frustration, I opened my eyes and grabbed Apollo's head, pulling him towards me and crashing my lips against his. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A sound that reverberated through my entire body, and pressed his lips harder against mine. Apollo positioned himself over me, his body a solid warmth above mine. His lips were incredible, unlike anything I'd ever experienced. I pulled him closer, deepening the kiss, losing myself in the sensation. If this was to be my last moment on Earth, I'd die happy, having kissed a man who made me never want to stop. Apollo broke the kiss, resting his forehead against. We both caught our breath. The air between us was charged with electricity. Well, I didn't expect that, Apollo finally said, his voice husky. Why? Because girls can't make the first move, I retorted, surprising myself with my boldness. No, he replied, his eyes searching mine. Because I thought you were repulsed by me. Why would you think that? Genuinely confused. I'm definitely not repulsed by you. More like, I trailed off, suddenly shy again. Apollo's gaze pierced my own, intense and questioning. More like what? He breathed out. More like fascinated. I gasped as Apollo's lips found my neck once more. You taste so good, little one. Apollo groaned against my skin, the vibration of his voice sending shivers through me. I tried to hold back my moans, but Apollo's ministrations made it nearly impossible. His lips traveled lower, leaving a trail of fire in their wake as they reached my chest. When his hazel eyes connected with mine, I swear I stopped breathing. Never in my life had I seen eyes full of lust and love for me. Apollo looked at me before trailing back up and whispering in my ear, "Breathe, little one." As soon as he said those words, I let out a deep breath that I didn't even know I was holding. What are you doing to me, Apollo? Nothing compared what you are doing to me. Apollo kissed my ear. Apollo sat up and picked me up so I was straddling him. Honestly, I could not get over how hot Apollo was. I just want you to know that you make tea incredibly sexy. Apollo told me. You liked it. I loved it. Little one. You proved to yourself and to me that you are more confident than you think. There is nothing sexier than seeing a woman being confident in herself. Apollo smiled. Daily latest update. You always know the right things to say so that you make me go crazy. Before he could say anything, I wrapped my arms around his neck and pulled him close, just for a hug. Apollo chuckled and wrapped his arms around my waist. Don't you think you were getting out of anything? Little one, I want my taste. Apollo W. his parade. Didn't you already have a taste? Not enough to quench my hunger for you. I want a taste of the most intimate part of your body. Apollo kissed my neck. Dimitri. A voice called out. Ignore it. Apollo said, breaking our hug and trailing his finger down my face. I shivered in pleasure. Dimitri, I know you were in there. Please. That annoying voice sounded again. The desire that fogged my mind decided to clear up once my slow brain registered who was at the door. Growling, I jumped off Apollo's lap and opened the door to reveal none other than Savannah. She was about to say something, but her eyes trailed over me. I probably looked aside. With my swollen lips, messy hair, and Apollo's shirt on. Daily latest update. Yes. Can I help you? Why are you wearing his shirt? Savannah spit out. I rolled my eyes. Why are you still here? I think Apollo already told you that you are not welcome here. What do you want? Apollo asked, standing over me. Well, I wanted to ask you if Savannah railed off, her eyes lowering. My eyes narrowed on her, and I spun around to see Apollo standing there shirtless. This bitch was checking out my mate. Growling, I pushed Apollo away and slammed the door, so now it was just me and Savannah. You have no shame checking out my mate? Do you? I glared at her. He was meant to be my mate. Savannah said. Yes, he was meant to be, but he found me, and you are no longer in the picture. This is the last warning you get from me. You better leave me and Apollo alone. Don't you come on this floor again because you are not welcome me. I spat out, not even giving her a chance to answer. I left her outside and went back inside. Adonis was standing there with a confused look on his face. What? You can throw me over your shoulder when I am wearing a sports bra, but I can't get angry when your ex is blatantly checking you out. I rolled my eyes. Daily latest update. You look hot when you were angry. Jealousy suits you. Apollo smirked. Next time put a shirt on. I replied, going straight to my wardrobe to find enough shirt. Once I was dressed, I decided to leave this room. Staying in the same room with Adonis wouldn't be a good idea. Where are you going? Apollo asked. I don't know. Somewhere. Well, I guess the moment is ruined now. I'll have to get my taste some other day. Apollo winked at me. Or never at all, I retorted. We both know that I will get that taste soon. What I want, I get. Apollo looked at me, daring me to defy him. We'll see about that. I raised my eyebrows and left the room before Apollo could hold me back. Fate was on my side because as soon as I came down the stairs, Olivia was walking in. Hey, Olivia. I called out to her. She spun around and gave me a massive smile. Lexmi, good to see you. Come and help me in the kitchen. She spotted Apollo behind me and added, if you aren't too busy. I glanced at Apollo and then back at Olivia. No, I am not busy. I'll help you. Apollo watched with a scowl on his face as I walked away with Olivia. Seeing the desire in Apollo's eyes made me wonder if playing with Apollo was going to end well for me. Chapter 16. So, what is going on between you two? Olivia asked as soon as we were in the kitchen. I have no idea what you're talking about. I answered. Sure you don't. That's why Dimitri had a scowl on his face when you came with me. Did you two argue? Olivia questioned. No, we were actually having a good time. But Savannah knocked on the door and ruined it. For you or for him? Olivia raised her eyebrows. Me, obviously. That girl always turns up at the wrong time, I complained. Because of her. You're taking your anger out on Dimitri now. Olivia looked at me with a smile. Well, she's only knocking on our door because of him. Then he decides to open the door with no shirt on. So of course she starts checking him out. I vented. Ah, so the whole thing is because you are jealous. Olivia laughed. What's so funny? I bet if the same thing happened to you, then you would be jealous too. I rolled my eyes. You're right. But it's nice to see someone act like this over Dimitri. He needed someone like you in his life. Olivia smiled. You think so? 100%. You both complement each other so well. It's unbelievable the effect you've had on Han in such a short space of time. Olivia said I guess we do. I thought about Olivia's comment. We can all see the change in Dimitri. And I know that you got thrust into this whole thing quite suddenly. But I can see a change in you too. Olivia commented. Me how? I was curious. You have a glow. Like you're in your bubble of happiness that no one can burst. It doesn't take a genius to figure out who's making you so happy. Olivia nudged me. Did you change to a lichen? No, but I'm guessing you are worried about the change. Olivia guessed correctly. I nodded, and she sighed. Most werewolves don't struggle as the changes aren't drastic that they can't. However, there are a few who suffer because they can't handle the changes. They find it too much. You being mated to the king means you'll have enhanced senses like him, which might be difficult to deal with. Unfortunately, it's all new for everyone, so we don't know. But with Dimitri by your side, I am sure that you'll be fine. Plus, you're not a weak werewolf. Wow, that was a lot of information to take in but useful. A part of me was terrified for the change, but the other part was excited. Being a lichen would mean I would have all these enhanced senses, which was so cool. It also meant I would be on par with Apollo. Thanks, Olivia. I smiled and hugged her. Anytime. Now you can either help me bake some cookies, or you can go to your mate. Olivia winked. No, I'll help you bake cookies. We could use some time apart. Olivia laughed. Achia spent enough time away from you, but this way you can bring him some cookies. I'm sure I'd deal of that. Rolling my eyes, I put all my worries to the back of my mind and helped Olivia bake. Honestly, it felt nice to have some girl time, but I found myself missing Apollo. Was this how it would always be? This feeling like I was empty without him? I wanted to ask Olivia but decided against it, just in case she thought I was being silly. Maybe I was being silly. Maybe I was being extra needy because of the changes my body was going through. Once the cookies were baked, Olivia put some on a plate and handed it to me. Go to your mate now. She chuckled. This time I didn't say anything but just smiled. I walked out of the kitchen and looked around the massive place. Where would he be? His addictive scent filled my nostrils, and I smiled. My feet moved on their own. Following his scent, I was outside a door, which I presumed was his office. Being polite, I decided to knock, but I didn't even have to. The door flung open, and Apollo was standing there with a tense look on his face. I made cookies. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for her unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Looking up at him, his tense expression faded, and he smiled. Come in, little one. Apollo moved out of the way so I could enter. Smiling, I went into his office. Obviously it was massive, but it was also very organized. Apollo had massive filing cabinets, and everything was labeled. There weren't papers lying everywhere, and it was very clean. This man never fails to surprise me. Apollo took a seat on his chair and raised his eyebrows. Are you going to stand the whole time? 10 what? No, I was just looking at your office. I mumbled, sitting down and placing the plate of cookies in front of him. Did you have fun with Olivia? Apollo asked while picking up a cookie from the plate. Yeah, it was nice to chat with her, I replied. Apollo nodded and took a bite of the cookie. He moaned and said, These are amazing. My brain cowled into informal response. I was struggling to control my desire after hearing him moan. Apollo was totally oblivious to my peril as he devoured all the cookies. He even made eating cookies look hot. How was I going to survive? My stupid mind took me to fantasy land, where I imagine Apollo lying me down on his desk and his lips traveling lower until they reach my core. Laxmi. Apollo's voice made me jump. Yes, clearing my throat. Are you all right? You look flustered. Apollo looked at me. Concerned me. I'm fine. Apollo didn't look convinced, but he nodded anyway. Shit. This wasn't good at all. My whole body felt like it was on fire all of a sudden. I shifted uncomfortably on my seat as Apollo continued to look at me weirdly. What was going on with me? I'll be back. I stood up and rushed out of his office. My legs felt weak, but I pushed myself to run toward the room. I ignored the concerned looks I got from the guards, as my focus was getting to my room. As soon as I reached it, I went straight into the bathroom and locked it. I was breathing heavily as I splashed cold water on my face. It didn't help. I felt weak, and I had no idea why. My knees collapsed, and I fell to the ground. Groaning, I tried to stand up, but I kept falling down. Holy shit. This wasn't good at all. Suddenly I felt the urge to throw up, and with my legs deciding they didn't want to work, I had to quickly make my way to the toilet. It took all my strength to crawl toward the toilet and empty out my stomach's contents. I thought I'd feel better after throwing up because it could have been something I ate that was making me feel sick. However, that wasn't the case. Laxmi. Apollo's worried voice made its way to my ears. This time I couldn't even say anything. My breathing was getting heavier. Laxmi. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Are you in here? Apollo was now banging on the door. As I still couldn't formulate a single word, my eyes locked on the bottles of shampoo and conditioner that were on the edge of the bathtub. Using all my energy, I moved toward the bathtub and knocked the bottles, causing them to fall into the bathtub and make a loud noise. That's it. I'm coming in. Apollo's voice sounded frantic. The door came straight off its hinges, and in the doorframe stood Apollo. He looked terrified, and I found myself wanting to comfort him. He placed the door outside and rushed toward me, carefully picking me up. Laxmi. Holy shit. What is happening? I need you to focus on my voice and stay awake. Don't you dare close your eyes. You hear me? Apollo was rushing. The warmth radiated by Apollo made me want to close my eyes, but I didn't let them. Apollo was running so fast, his fear evident. Again, I just wanted to hug him and tell him everything would be okay, but I couldn't. My heart broke for the pain Apollo must be going through right now. I had no idea what was going on in me, and it was clear he didn't either. Get thee out of my way. Apollo growled at some guards, who quickly cleared the way when their eyes found me. Honestly, I probably looked a mess. Where's the doctor? Apollo shouted. He carefully laid me down on the bed, causing me to shiver. I missed his warmth. A doctor came running and I looked horrified when she saw me on the bed. Did I look that bad? What's wrong with my mate? Apollo growled. He was losing control and the poor doctor looked shit scared. This man, he needed to learn to control his temper. I lifted up my arms, catching the doctor's attention, and she looked at Apollo before saying, I think the Queen wants you to hold her. Apollo's gaze snapped to mine and softened. He didn't even wait before picking me up again and embracing me in his warmth. They'll find out what's wrong. Don't worry. The doctor sounded determined. As she started her examination of me, my eyes started to close. I tried my hardest to fight it, but it was a battle that I was losing. No. Little one, stay with me. Apollo patted my cheeks in an attempt to keep me awake. Nothing was working, my eyes were closing. The last thing I saw was Apollo's hazel eyes full of worry and him telling me, please don't leave me. Chapter 17. Do you ever feel like you're in an amazing dream that you never want to wake up from? Yes. Then you must also know the pain when you are rudely awoken by some stupid person who has no idea how fully invested you were in your dream. I mean, who wants to be woken up and faced with the harsh reality of life, where nothing happens the way it does in your dream? That's what happened to me. The stupid beeping from some machine, along with someone deciding to poke me with a needle, was how I awoke. Not very nice. Imagine, my dream, which was amazing, might I add, was broken because of this. Groaning, I blinked a few times, giving my eyes time to adjust to the light. Obviously I expected to see Apollo, but that was not who I saw when I opened my eyes. I saw some nurse, who poked my hand with a needle, but no sign of Apollo. The bright light caused me to shut my eyes again, but I opened them soon after. Looking around the room, Apollo was clearly not here. Where was he? And why was I finding this stupid light so bright till it? Oh, you're awake. The nurse stood over me and flashed a light into my eyes. I hissed and swatted it away. Please don't do that. So sorry. Let me go and alert that you're awake. The nurse rushed out. It wasn't long before the doctor rushed in and breathed a sigh of relief when she saw me looking at her. I noticed she dimmed the lights before coming toward me. What was that about? Oh, my lad. Your Majesty, it is such a relief to see you awake and well. The doctor. Thank you. But can you please call me Laxmi? The doctor looked horrified and replied, How can I? You're my queen. You are I. Right now, I am your patient. Please, call me Laxmi. I pleaded. Okay, just this one time. The doctor relented. Good. What's your name? I should thank the person who saved me. I smiled Jane. Jane smiled back. So Jane, care to tell me what the hell happened to me? Well, it seems like your body wanted to speed up the process of you becoming a lichen. However, you not eating much meant your body didn't have enough energy to keep up with the changes. Hence, you had no energy to even stand. And you fainted, Jane explained. So I am a lichen now. I questioned. More and yes. You are now officially a lichen. You will notice some changes, one of which being your heightened sight. Jane told me. That's why you dimmed the lights. It was beginning to make sense to me now if that's right. Your body may be weak for the rest of today, but eat properly and you will be fine. Laxmi, Jane said. Thank you. Now my next question. Where's my mate? I looked at Jane, whose face turned pale. Well, he derailed off. Immediately my heart started racing. Had something happened to Apollo? I sat up straight and looked at Jane. Has something happened? I pressed Jane. Jane looked conflicted, like she didn't know if she should tell me or not. Before she could say anything, Olivia walked in and jumped in shock. She didn't know I was awake. Laxmi, you're awake. Olivia rushed over. Yes. Now can you tell me where Apollo is? I didn't want to waste any more time. Olivia sighed. I should have known that would be the first thing you would want to know. If you know that, then please tell me. I begged. Dimitri, you wasn't in a good place when you collapsed. He went mad with rage. We got there just in time to hold him back. I thought he was going to attack this poor doctor. He wouldn't even listen to reason. No one could tell him anything and he's like a no. Laxmi, he's like wasn't letting go of you. We tried to explain that you could be dying, but his lichen didn't want to let go of your body. Beckett and Miles had to drag him away so you could be treated. Olivia finally told me. It took a while for those words to sink in. Apollo was like that just because I collapsed. He wouldn't even let go of my body. I didn't want to think about the possibility of me not even making it. If this was what he was like if I just collapsed. Where is he? I turned to Olivia. He's in his cell. The one he had to be locked up in before he found you. Olivia trailed off when she saw me getting up. Laxmi, the IVS. Please be careful. Jane warned me. I paid no attention to her as I took them off and put on my shoes, which were lying by the foot of my bed. Thankfully I was still dressed in my clothes. I want to apologize for my mate nearly killing you. I turned to Jane. No, don't. I can't imagine the pain he was going through seeing you like that. Jane shook her head. Neither can I. Jane, I thought to myself. After everything Apollo had been through, the last thing he needed was this happening. Where are you going? Olivia called after me. I'm going to find my mate. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Walking out of the hospital room, it shouldn't be that hard, especially with my heightened sense of smell. The thought of Apollo being locked up made me want to cry. How could I let him stay there while I lay comfortably in a hospital bed? My head started spinning as I thought of the awful conditions Apollo might be in. I had to get to him. Now, like I thought. My sense of smell made it easy for me to find the place where Apollo was. Miles and Beckett were standing to the side, talking among themselves. Normally I wouldn't be able to hear what they were saying, but now that I was a lichen, it was much easier. I hope she wakes up soon. Seeing Dimitri like this again is awful. Beckett shook his head. I agree, but we will keep him locked up till Laxmi is better. Dimitri would kill us if he knew we made Laxmi go and calm him down when she was 100%. Miles sighed. Apollo was so lucky to have friends like Beckett and Miles. It was obvious to see their concern for their friend. Beckett's gaze found mine, and he rushed over with Miles hot on his heels. Laxmi, you're okay? Beckett said, relief evident on his face. Yes, Olivia told me what happened. I need to see Apollo. I told them. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We would never stop you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You are our queen, Miles teased. Beckett rolled his eyes. While I laughed. You always know what to say. It's a talent that no one else has. Beckett playfully hit Miles on the shoulder and flattered. But on a serious note, we are both so glad that you're okay. To get to Dimitri, you'll to go down this staircase. And there is a door to the right. He is in there. Miles told me. Thank you. Neither of them looked worried. Rather, they looked relieved. After hearing their conversation, I was surprised. They wanted Dimitri out of that room, which only fueled my suspicions that it was an awful room. I followed Miles' instructions and stopped before the door. My heart was racing fast, not because I was worried that Apollo would hurt me, but rather because I was worried about the conditions he was in. Before I could even open the door, a loud growl that could only be Apollo made me jump. Holy shit, that was much louder than I expected. My ears picked up the sound of chains. Right, this was it. Backs me. You need to get Apollo out of this room. No backing out now. Without wasting another second, I opened the door and gasped. Black eyes pierced my own. This was not Apollo chapter 18. The black soulless eyes glared at me as I took a deep breath and closed the door. In front of me, Apollo stood, wrapped in chains and breathing heavily. Except this wasn't Apollo. His lichen was very much in control. Having an angry mate is one thing, but having an angry mate who is a lichen is a completely different ballpark. Apollo would never hurt me. I knew that, but his lichen has never been introduced to me, and that scared me. Apollo struggled against the chains. The sound of them made me cringe. I couldn't believe how many there were, but looking at Apollo, it was a shocker as to why. I knew I had to remain calm and take it slow. This was the Apollo I knew. Apollo, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His eyes narrowed as I took a step closer. Immediately he started sniffing the air, and again those black eyes connected with mine. Mate, Apollo's lichen said, his deep voice making my heart beat even faster. Should I say something else? My brain was still making up its mind, but that was too slow for his lichen. I jumped back in shock when Apollo moved forward, but the chains pulled him back, causing him to let out another growl. Mate, must get to mate. Apollo was struggling against the chains. My eyes found the places where the chains were digging into his skin, causing him to bleed as he was pulling on the chains so hard. Stop. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I had to do something. I cowed as the Apollo caused himself pain. Thankfully he stopped. He looked at me in question, and I sighed. Please, don't pull on the chains. I need to see Apollo. He growled again, clearly not happy with what I said. But I tried again. Please, I begged. His resolve broke as he closed his eyes and took a deep breath. This time my eyes connected with Apollo's hazel eyes. The same eyes I realized that I had missed. Even though it hadn't been that long, I missed his eyes. Apollo. This time I closed my eyes as I heard his familiar voice reply. Laxmi. Hearing his voice made me breathe a sigh of relief. I opened my eyes again and the smile got bigger. You're okay? He breathed out. Yes, perfectly fine. You would know that if you hadn't gone all psycho on that poor doctor. I wanted to see your face when I opened my eyes, but I saw a nurse's face instead. I rolled my eyes. Apollo looked down at the floor. I'm sorry, little one. When you collapsed in my arms, my uncowed and handle it. We only just got you, we couldn't lose you. And you won't. But you and your need some serious anger management classes. I told him. I'd do anything for you. But right now I just want to feel you in my arms again. However, that is a bit hard for me right now. Apollo rattled the chains. Oh right. How do I get these off? I looked around for a key. In the corner, middle shelf. The keys are there. Apollo replied. Let me tell you something. Removing all these chains was hard work. Especially because the chains were all tangled together. And Apollo was being impatient. I swear, I wanted to lock him back up in the chains. Every time I got one chain off, he wanted to touch me. I had to keep swatting his hands away. Once I got all the chains off him, he wasted no time in picking me up in his arms. I squealed and wrapped my legs around his waist. Apollo buried his face in my neck and breathed in. Your scent always manages to calm me down. Am I was really paying attention as I was enjoying being in his warm embrace? Wait, your ear hurt. I saw the chains digging into you. Apollo put me down. I struggled in his arms. Apollo's reply was to hold me tighter. I do not care. I want you in my arms. Just this once. Please don't argue. How could I argue with that? His words sent that warm feeling down my spine, and I snuggled into his embrace. Did you know I am a lichen now? I mumbled. Yes, I can sense it. Little one. Apollo chuckled. My response was to bury my face in Apollo's neck as he carried me up the stairs. Him holding me felt so normal, and I loved it. Dimitri, your Beckett trailed off. Busy, Apollo said, walking away. Yeah, very busy with your mate. She didn't even save you from killing that doctor. But of course you wouldn't care. Miles muttered under his breath. I can hear you. I told him. What how? Miles spluttered idiot. She's a lichen now. Beckett hit him on the head. Oh shit. Better be careful with what I say, Miles said, causing Olivia to laugh and Apollo to sigh. I couldn't help but smile. Miles was such a character. Miles. She helped me become a better person. And that's more than you have done. Apollo replied, smirking at Miles's face. Miles being Miles. You didn't let that get to him as he yelled. We will make sure no one disturbs you to lovebirds. I'm going to kill him, Apollo mumbled. As if. He is your best friend, I said laughing. Apollo didn't say anything else as he made his way to our room. Guards bowed as Apollo walked past them. I still wasn't used to that. He opened the door, and I reluctantly detached myself from him. You don't know how worried I was, Apollo said, sitting down on the bed. Well, if you being locked up was a big enough sign that you missed me, then you not being by my side when I woke up was the next sign, I replied, sitting down next to him. I'm so sorry. My lichen. You just took over when you collapsed in my arms. It happened so suddenly. Apollo sighed. Well, I was serious when I said that you both need some anger management classes. I attempted to lighten the mood. Apollo's mouth curved up in a smile. You always know what to say. It's a talent of mine. I winked. You're feeling okay? Right. Please tell me you were discharged before you came to get me. Apollo jumped up, and his eyes ran over my body as if he suddenly remembered I was in the hospital. I am fine, and he needs to get discharged anyway. I felt fine. So I left, and I came to get you. Honestly, no one could have stopped me. Plus, what about you? Those chains digging into your skin. Apollo ran his hands through his hair in frustration. You didn't even let the doctor know. You just walked out. That's so careless. And I am fine. I will heal. It's you that I am worried about now. Jane, the doctor, was there when I left. If it was serious, she would have tried to stop me. Well, you're worried about me, and I am worried about you. I rolled my eyes. But still, you should be resting. Don't worry about me, little one. I heal very fast. Apollo looked concerned. Apollo, I am fine. There is nothing wrong with me. I stood up and turned around as if to say see and made a mental note that lichens heal fast. Apollo sighed and replied, Fine. It's clear I am not going to win this battle. Yes, and immer lichen now and heal super fast. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Using his own words against him. Your ear lichen now. Apollo repeated. Yes, I just said that. I looked at him, confused. Apollo suddenly had a massive smirk on his face. Do you know what this means? No, but clearly you do. You being a lichen means amazing like an Apollo didn't get to finish his sentence because someone knocked on the door. Of course, he growled. But I elbowed him in the side. He so needed to learn to control his anger. Look, I know I promised to not let anyone disturb you to love birds. But I think this is an exception. Miles' voice flowed through. Apollo looked unimpressed. So I told him, stop thinking with your dick for once. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. This better be important. Apollo called out. I opened the door and gasped. Nope. Chapter 19. Laxmi. Luna smiled and pulled me in for a hug. You're really here. Oh, I missed you. I squeezed her tighter. Yeah, you should thank me for bringing her here and having to suffer through what I heard. Miles dramatically sighed. Luna broke the hug and looked at me in confusion before she said Lost. You don't want to know what I heard before the door opened. Miles shuddered. My eyes widened in shock when I realized what Miles was talking about. And I mumbled under my breath. Stupid like an hearing. Apollo then decided to make his presence known. Well, your innocent tears could have been spared. If you texted like a normal person. We aren't normal people. And who said my ears were innocent. Miles winked. Are you sure you want to get into this in front of a certain someone? I have a lot to say. Apollo motioned to Luna. Miles cursed under his breath and quickly changed the subject. Well, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I thought Luna would want to surprise Laxmi. Miles replied, a blush creeping up his cheeks. So, this was all for your mate then. Your blush says it all. Apollo smirked. Thankfully, he didn't bring up anything. Luna looked down at the floor, while Miles looked at Apollo like he wanted to murder him. I nudged Luna, who looked at me and Apollo before a smile made its way onto her face. Well, I've heard you have been quite busy yourself. Cousin. Changing into a lichen in the most dramatic way possible, causing your mate to have to be locked up. You know me. I love to be dramatic. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Luna laughed and replied, oh, of course. That's why you ran off when you first saw your mate. I rolled my eyes. Oh, come on. That's in the past now. Luna laughed even more. You're easy to tease. My smile got bigger as Luna laughed. I noticed that Luna had some of her spark back, but I knew she was also trying extra hard to show me she was okay. I wish Apollo made that prick suffer more. But his anger got the better of him. Yet another reason he needed to get his anger under control. So you're moving in here? Apollo asked Luna. Yes. I may have gotten really sick back home, and they told me I needed to come here. Luna looked at me sheepishly. You were sick? Luna, why didn't you call? I gasped. Because I knew you would rush over. And I didn't want that. Plus, when I talked to my therapist, she said that I would heal faster if I surrounded myself with you guys. Luna replied, by that, you really mean Miles. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He is your mate. Miles puffed his chest out like he was proud, and even though it was small, Luna smiled. I also need your love and support. Luna changed the subject, and I'll always be here to give it. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You won't be too busy with your mate, queen duties, and doctor training. Luna teased. He'll make time for you. Plus, if I don't have time, your mate will be more than happy to drop what he is doing. I winked at Miles. Luna just rolled her eyes and turned to Apollo. I just want to say thank you for what you did. Apollo smiled and replied, you don't have to say thanks. I did what any decent person would do. Plus, bastards like that don't belong in my palace, Luna. I want you to know that you will always be safe in my palace. Thank you. Luna looked unsure of what to call him. You can call me Dimitri, Apollo told Luna. She simply nodded and turned to me. Miles told me you both have been through a lot today, so I'll leave you both alone. I need to unpack anyway. Just as I was about to reply to Luna, Apollo butted in. Thank you. Luna, your cousin will meet you tomorrow. Have fun unpacking. Luna smiled and nodded. She waved goodbye before walking off with Miles close behind her. This guy was amazing. He respected Luna so much that he was walking behind her to give her space. Apollo dragged me inside and shut the door. I don't need rest, you know. I rolled my eyes. Apollo didn't reply. He just picked me up and placed me on the bed. You talk too much, he mumbled, getting comfy in bed. What? Again, instead of a response, he just pulled me closer to him. I tried to wriggle away, but Apollo kept a firm grasp on me. I've had a long day being locked up in chains, and I can't sleep properly without you, so we're both taking a nap. Apollo told me. Wow, well done. Laxmi. Didn't even think about Apollo and him being locked up. His words ran through my mind. He really can't sleep without me. That made me smile. Why the big smile? Apollo yawned. No reason. I just want to smile. I quickly replied. You're a bad liar. But I have no energy to get the real reason. Apollo's eyes closed. Just sleep. You don't need to worry. Even my eyes started to close. You're the best thing that has ever happened to me. Little one. Apollo mumbled before his breathing evened out. My smile got even bigger as I fell asleep to the sound of Apollo's heart beating. Nap time is over now. Lovebirds, a loud voice shouted, causing me to bury my face into Apollo's shoulder. What it would wake a sleeping female? I could only think of one person. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Miles, I am going to kill you. Apollo's sleepy voice confirmed my thoughts and sent sparks through my body. Who knew his sleepy voice sounded so hot? Oh, come on. You need to get up now. Miles complained. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Someone tell him to shut up. His voice is too loud. I swear to God. Miles, I told you to leave them alone. But you never listen, Beckett's familiar voice said. Next time he doesn't listen, lock him up in that room you locked Apollo in. I yawned. Apollo's deep laughter made his chest vibrate and sent shivers down my spine. Beckett started to laugh as well. Hey, that's not very nice. You're meant to be on my team. Miles replied. This time I sat up and rubbed my eyes. Piece of advice. To my agent extraordinaire, Maylin Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Don't ever wake a sleeping female. Beckett nodded like he knew that was true, and Apollo just laid there looking at me with a smirk on his face. I swear, if he doesn't stop smirking, I'll punch him, or maybe I'll kiss him instead. It's been a while since I've kissed his amazing lips. Apollo's smirk got bigger, and I realized I was staring. Shit. Good going. Backs me. My eyes found Beckett and Miles. Beckett looked pleased, while Miles looked disgusted seriously. I had to hear your awful conversation, and now I have to watch you to make love with your eyes. Miles shuddered. Make love with our eyes? Is that what it really looked like? My eyes widened in shock, and as I opened my mouth to reply, someone beat me too. Well, whose fault is that? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Whose room are you in right now? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And I can do what I want in my own room. You're welcome to leave. Apollo sounded smug. Of course he did. He thinks I was making love to him with my eyes. Miles. Leave them alone. They'll come for dinner. Dimitri, remember you've got a lot of paperwork to do. Beckett reminded Apollo. Why don't you call him Apollo? I blurted out. Beckett smiled and replied. I can if I wanted to, but I think Apollo is reserved just for you. Tonight, Beckett. I want to get it done tonight. Apollo looked at Beckett. Beckett nodded, while Miles groaned. An all-nighter. I haven't done one of those in ages. Do you ever stop complaining? Causing the men to laugh. Whatever. Miles just rolled his eyes and walked out of our room. Beckett smiled apologetically and closed the door behind him. I wanted to fall back asleep but decided against it because I knew I wouldn't sleep at night. So, you were staring at my lips for a long time. Apollo had that smug look on his face. No, I was not. You were imagining things. Oh, right. You were making love to me with your eyes. Apollo now had this massive grin on his face. It made him look sexy. Wait. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I didn't think that. No, I denied. You keep telling yourself that. Apollo still had that grin on his face. I wanted to punch you because you keep smirking. I rolled my eyes. Punch me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You didn't want to kiss me. Apollo whispered in my ear. Don't tell me he heard me. Wait. How could he? I never said that out loud. And your lack of communication and the fact that your eyes are as wide as saucers gives me all the clarification I need. Apollo looked like he won a battle. Tricking people gets you nowhere. Obviously not impressed with the fact that he managed to figure me out that quickly. Well, I don't blame you. You know, I also want to kiss your lips. Apollo shrugged like it wasn't a big deal. Look, if you're going to continue teasing me, I turned to face him. But I didn't get to finish what I was saying. Apollo grabbed me and placed his warm lips on mine. The sudden contact made me groan. Well, that and his lips were just so good. Apollo wasted no time, picking me up and placing me on his lap. My hands found his hair and his hands wrapped around my waist. His kisses made my whole body feel like jelly. That's how good he was. Our heated make-out session was paused while we both caught our breath. Our foreheads pressed together and eyes closed. I savored this moment. This moment where no words were needed. 11. It felt weird to even think about leaving. My whole body protested to the fact. Now that I was a lichen, I needed Apollo just as much as he needed me. Even thinking about leaving made my heart constrict. How quickly things can change over a period of a few days. You know, I would much rather continue this. But I think we should go and have dinner. Apollo broke the moment. I looked at him, confused, my slow brain still fogged with desire. Apollo groaned. Seeing that desire in your eyes is making it very hard for me to control myself. Little one, I'm hungry, and I don't think you'd appreciate it if I feast on you. My eyes widened as I felt my cheeks heat up. I didn't expect that. Seeing my reaction, Apollo chuckled. Just like I thought. Come, let's eat proper food. I couldn't believe Apollo just said he wanted to feast on me. It didn't take a genius to figure out what he meant. Although embarrassed, I was repulsed by the idea. I mean, with Apollo, who would be? But remembering his words about him seeing my desire and his control wearing thin, it was best not to think any more about it. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be leaving here anytime soon. Neon. We both stood up and made our way downstairs. Oh, look who decided to turn up. Miles announced as we made our way into the kitchen. Just you wait a few weeks. Then he'll start teasing you. I poked Miles in the ribs. He rubbed the sore spot and shook his head. So mature. Your Majesty. I just laughed. While Apollo rolled his eyes. Stop acting like a child. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm. Miles pouted, but that pout soon disappeared as soon as Luna and Olivia walked into the kitchen. He straightened up and looked more serious but at the same time nervous. Both Apollo and I looked at each other at the same time and grinned. Seeing Miles change was funny. Oh, hey guys. Olivia asked, coming over to us. Yes, what's for dinner? Apollo asked. I believe pasta bake has been made. Olivia made her way to the oven, where the pasta bake was. Oh, it's good to have a chef. Miles said. Why are you too lazy to cook? Luna asked, causing Miles' eyes to widen. No, what I mean is well that it is nice to have one when you can't be to cook. Wait. No, that's not what I mean. I had to bite the inside of my cheeks to try not to laugh. Poor Miles seemed so flustered, while Luna just looked at him with her eyebrows raised. She looked unimpressed, but I could see the hint of amusement in her eyes. She was teasing him, and Miles was taking the bait. Let's eat, Apollo said, a slight smile on his face. Beckett joined us as we all sat down to eat. Miles seemed desperate to impress Luna, always asking her if she needed anything. She was a little apprehensive still, but I could see she was slowly opening up to Miles. The mate bond must be helping. Apollo, on the other hand, was too concerned about the pasta bake. When he said he was hungry, he really did mean it. I couldn't believe how many servings he had taken. When I said I couldn't finish my portion, he took mine too. Losing control drains a lot of energy, and he needs to get that back up, Beckett explained. Seeing my shocked face, I nodded slowly, taking in the information. No wonder he was so tired. After dinner was over, Apollo told Beckett and Miles that they'd start work in 1 hour. Miles looked like he was about to complain but saw Luna, and just nodded. Everyone made their way back to their own rooms. When we entered our room, I looked at Apollo. Are you really going to be working all night? Yes, I have to. Little one. Too much time was lost today, and I have important issues to deal with. Apollo sighed. Maybe he sensed my change of mood because he said, I'm going to go and start now. Hopefully I'll be back before you wake up in the morning. He kissed me on the forehead and left. Suddenly I felt lonely. My heart longed for Apollo, even though I just saw him. The mate bond was so strong. I never imagined it would be like this. Sighing, I got ready in my PJs and climbed into bed. My mood had dropped because I missed Apollo. I know I sounded pathetic, but I couldn't help it. To distract myself, I watched a comedy movie and an action movie. Today's events had drained me. Even with the nap I had, my eyes were closing, and it was only 10 p. and switched off the TV and decided to let my body rest. As darkness took over me, I hoped that Apollo would be by my side in the morning. Chapter 20. Waking up was always 50-50 with me. Sometimes I would have so much energy, and other times I wouldn't even want to get out of bed. Today I didn't even have the energy to open my eyes, but something was nagging me to check the other side of the bed. So my hand patted the cold side next to me, confirming my thoughts that Apollo never came back. Even though I managed to sleep, it didn't feel refreshing. My head hurt, and I felt super drowsy. This novel will be daily updated in Mr. Apollo. So much. My feelings had changed so much, but I was mad. Something about spending time with Apollo just made me feel so much better. And him not being here really messed with me. Since I had an awful night of sleep, my body needed more sleep. But before I gave in, my nose caught a whiff of something that smelled like red water. Immediately my heart started racing. Was it Apollo that was hurt? No, I would know if he was hurt. Just as I opened my eyes, a drop of something fell on my face. I touched it and brought it up to my eyes. Holy shit. It was red water. Where the hell did red water even come from? The strong scent made my eyes travel upward, and I gasped. Right above me was a little girl's dead body, hanging from the light. Her lifeless eyes stared right at me, permanently engraving them in my mind. Without wasting a second, I ripped the covers off me and stumbled out of bed. This novel will be daily updated at it was then I realized the horror of this act. All the bed sheets were soaked in red water. How the hell did I not notice this? All of a sudden, it felt like my senses opened up as the strong smell of red water made me gag. My whole body was still shaking as I made my way to the door, desperate to get out before the smell made me sick. I didn't even look at the dead body because I knew if I did, I would pass out. My body felt weak. I was pretty sure it had something to do with the gruesome scene in my bedroom. Just as I opened the door, my knees collapsed, causing me to fall. My body was weaker than I thought. Since my plan of getting help with my legs failed, I used the next best thing. I had my voice. Adonis. Adonis, please. I shouted again, crawling away from the door. I had to get far away from my room. Guards began to rush up, but my mate pushed past them all. His eyes narrowed and his body tense. Seeing his face calmed me down, and I got up and threw myself at him, using the last bit of energy I had. I needed his comforting embrace right now. His arms wrapped tightly around me as I breathed in his delicious scent, trying my best to not smell the red water. I knew that I didn't need to tell him anything. The smell of red water was strong in the air. My thoughts were confirmed by Apollo's loud growl, which caused the windows to shake. Instinctively, I clutched onto him tighter. He made his way to the room, and I forced myself to keep my eyes open because I knew if I closed them, those lifeless eyes would appear. Thankfully, my back was facing the horrific scene, and I was facing the bedroom door instead. Beckett and Miles rushed into the room, gasping in shock and horror. This novel will be daily updated. This was something no one wanted to see, especially since it was a child who was killed, who got into my room while my mate was sleeping. Apollo was furious. Who thinks it's okay to kill a little girl in this vile way? I want to know who. Apollo seethed. His anger caused some guards to take a few steps back. They probably thought he'd lose control. Beckett and Miles didn't look worried. Just concerned, the guards looked at Beckett and Miles, waiting in case they had to restrain Apollo. There was no way that he was getting put in that awful cell again. Not on my watch. I breathed in his scent to calm me down. It seemed that he calmed down as well, tightening his grip around me but releasing a long breath. The guards relaxed and came closer again, waiting to hear orders. Find out what sadistic prick did this and bring him to me. I don't need to tell you to use all measures to make sure this bastard is found. Apollo turned to Beckett and Miles. You know we will. Right now you need to look after your mate, Beckett said. Yeah. She's first priority. We will find the dickhead who pulled this despicable act. Miles sounded serious, his playful demeanor long gone. We'll be in one of the other rooms on this floor. Apollo told his friends before stopping and grabbing a few things and leaving. I didn't even realize when Apollo entered the other room, when he placed me on the toilet seat as he ran the bath. I didn't even get the chance to be embarrassed as he took off my PJs, leaving me in my bra and underwear. My mind was too busy thinking about the events that just took place. Only when Apollo placed me in the warm bath did my stricken face look up at him. I thought lycans are meant to have heightened senses. Why didn't I hear anyone come in? How could I have slept through someone killing and placing that little girl's body above me? How could I not have smelled the red water as it fell onto the sheets? I questioned. Tears fell as I remembered that little girl's body hanging from the light. Apollo wiped the tears away and kissed my forehead. Don't blame yourself, little one. I should never have left you alone. None of this is your fault. Understand, someone is playing a sick game with us, but they won't get away with it. Flashbacks of the red water, soaked sheets invaded my mind, and I shuddered. This novel will be daily update, yet I looked down at my skin and shook my head. I reached for the flannel and put some soap on it before scrubbing my arms hard. Into my mind, I saw the red water of that innocent girl, and I had to get rid of it. Only when Apollo held my hand to stop any from scrubbing did I realize my skin had turned red. Being brown meant that I was to scrub so hard for my skin to become red. Relax me. Why did you do that to yourself? Didn't you hear what I said? Apollo placed my red arms in the warm water to soothe them. Her red water was on my skin. I had to get it off. I slept in her red water for God knows how long. How stupid am I? I shook my head in disbelief. Not stupid. Don't call yourself that, Apollo said. He spent the next 10 minutes caring for me, washing my hair and body and making sure I was okay. Once he was done, he lifted me out of the water and wrapped a warm and fluffy towel around me. Your Majesty. The familiar voice of Jane called out. Yes, come in, Apollo replied. Jane opened the door cautiously, and I saw the nerves when she saw Apollo. Poor girl. She was probably terrified about what happened with Apollo before. I was called to check cause of death and look for anything suspicious in your room. I thought I should report my findings to you. Jane started. Apollo just nodded. Well, I can't get an exact time of death just yet, but I am certain she was killed by multiple stab wounds. That, and being hung up in the way she was, would explain why there was so much red water. I shuddered and buried my face in Apollo's neck. That poor girl who would kill an innocent child so violently. My heart broke for her family. They probably had no idea that their daughter was killed. But I also found out something else. This novel will be daily updated at the reason as to why Axme never awoke during the whole attack. Jane sighed. My head shot up, and Apollo asked, You mean someone drugged Laxmi? Jane nodded. Her water was laced with a drug. I am not sure the exact one, but I know the various drugs that smell similar, and all have the same effect. It would have caused her to fall into a deep sleep, one which she wouldn't wake up from, even though there was so much going on around. Tell me, Your Majesty, did you experience a headache when you woke up? Yes, I thought it was because I didn't have a good night's sleep, I replied. Jane shook her head. It is the side effect of the drug. Whoever did this to you knew that you were Elvic, and otherwise they'd have no other reason to drug you. They also knew when to drug you. This was a carefully plotted plan. Apollo's eyes began to switch. His lichen was demanding control. Joan's face paled, and she took a few steps to be closer to the door. This was the time for Apollo to lose control. I need him and not his lichen. I took his head in my hands. Stay with me, Apollo. I need you. Not your lichen. My eyes stayed on his changing ones, refusing to let his lichen take control. Apollo closed his eyes and let out a deep breath. When his hazel eyes connected with mine, I let out a sigh of relief. It's hard to hear all this. Little one, my lichen was the red water of whoever did this. Apollo ran his hands through his hair. I know, but your lichen isn't going to help anyone find this prick sooner. You are, so you need to stay in control. I need to get back. If anything else comes up, then I will let you know. Jane left, Apollo picked me up and placed me on the toilet seat before disappearing into the room. This novel will be daily updated as it didn't take long for him to return with some clones. I quickly got ready, and Apollo gripped my hand tight. "You're not leaving my side?" Leaving no room for any argument. I just nodded, secretly glad that he said that because I didn't want to leave his side anyway. We left the bedroom and made our way to the crowd of guards. Dimitri. Olivia's familiar voice called both Apollo, and I spun around to see Olivia running toward us. "VVE1 you better come down," Olivia said while catching her breath. Apollo's eyes narrowed as he smelled something in the air. It meant nothing, but to Apollo, it was clearly something. His body tensed up yet again as he stormed downstairs. I looked at Olivia in worry before running after him. Apollo stopped in front of a middle-aged man, who stood there with a smug look on his face. "Who is that?" I whispered to Olivia. "Archias, the one that first proposed the idea of Apollo and Savannah's mating," Olivia replied back, causing my eyes to widen in shock. As if this day couldn't get any worse for us. I just hoped Apollo could control his lichen, but looking at this guy made me seriously doubt that. Well, this should be fun. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.